Katie Hopkins, the self-proclaimed queen of unrestrained commentary, has just delivered a staggering blow to Rayner on live television, leaving audiences in disbelief. With her signature sarcastic style, Hopkins pointed out the many mistakes and leadership failures of the Labour Party, raising the question of whether this could be the beginning of the end for Rayner's political career. The public is left to wonder, is this a shocking debate moment, or a turning point for Labour? Let's dig into the details. According to Hopkins, Rayner's recent blunders are not just embarrassing, they paint a clear picture of the Labour Party's waning credibility. If Rayner is meant to be the voice of the working class, then, as Hopkins argues, that class deserves far better representation. The most notable moment of the debate came when Hopkins openly expressed her disappointment in Rayner's inability to handle public criticism. A leader who shies away from the very people they claim to represent? That's not leadership. It's the worst kind of political theatre. Anyone familiar with Hopkins knows she wouldn't let this slip by unnoticed. Hopkins didn't hold back, dissecting Rayner's leadership skills and verbal slip-ups with the precision of a seasoned satirist. She mocked Rayner's public appearances, suggesting they were less about actual leadership and more about testing how long clichés could endure. Rayner's proposed solutions to working-class issues seemed to evaporate in the face of Hopkins' scrutiny, exposing significant weaknesses in both her leadership and the Labour Party's overall approach. Bono remarked that Rayner is incompetent, just like the rest of the party, an indictment that reflects the growing disillusionment with Labour's management. The sharpness of Hopkins' critique escalated when she slammed Labour's decision to cancel local elections, labelling it the pinnacle of cowardice. According to her, Labour's internal logic appears to be, if you can't win, don't play. She likened the situation to a child losing at musical chairs and then demanding the game be banned altogether. With her razor-sharp wit, Hopkins quipped that the Labour Party seems so terrified that they might soon hold campaign events in broom closets just to avoid public scrutiny. Focusing on Rayner's tendency to evade accountability, Hopkins asserted that her responses to challenging questions are as predictable as they are meaningless. She derisively noted that Rayner's political strategy seems to revolve around merely appearing busy while contributing nothing of actual value. This relentless critique from Hopkins underscores her belief that Rayner is wholly unfit for leadership. Hopkins did not stop there. She boldly criticized the Labour Party's allergy to accountability, accusing Rayner and her colleagues of stifling opposition through silencing dissenting voices and dodging tough questions. In her eyes, Rayner seems to crave a safe space where even a gentle breeze of criticism would be treated like a storm of hatred. Hopkins made it clear that this behavior is not leadership, it's merely a defensive posture masquerading as strategy. Moreover, she highlighted Rayner's apparent disconnect from the everyday struggles of British families, particularly working-class individuals and retirees. Hopkins painted a grim picture of a Labour Party more focused on rhetoric than on delivering meaningful solutions. She relentlessly criticised Labour for its inaction, particularly regarding delayed winter fuel allowances and neglect of pensioners left to freeze in their homes. According to Hopkins, the Labour Party's grand plan for pensioners seems to involve teaching them to survive on empty promises and a cup of cold tea, a cruel act disguised as pragmatism. Moving on, Hopkins condemned the Labour Party's approach to taxes, inflation, and the cost of living, asserting that high taxes are hitting poor families hard. She argued that the Labour Party is taxing the very people it claims to protect, only to express surprise when they fail to garner support. In her view, families are being forced to make impossible choices between heating their homes and feeding their children while Labour MPs engage in empty rhetoric. Hopkins did not hesitate to call out the Labour Party's attempts to silence dissenting voices, particularly targeting figures like Nigel Farage on platforms such as GB News. To her, banning opposing viewpoints is not a strategy, it's an admission that the Labour Party lacks anything of value to contribute. She also highlighted the hypocrisy of the Labour Party in its international engagements, pointing out reports of Labour volunteers campaigning for Democratic candidates in the US while expressing outrage over allegations of foreign election interference. To Hopkins, it's absurd that the Labour Party can meddle in international matters yet scream constitutional crisis when someone merely breathes in their direction. As she dissected Labour's unfulfilled promises, Hopkins pulled no punches. She criticised tax hikes and rising energy costs, portraying a party more concerned with hypocrisy than addressing real issues. The promise of no tax increases quickly turned into a reality where families are paying a heavy price, leaving Hopkins to quip that it's like telling your kids they'll get ice cream for dessert, only to serve them a plate of broccoli and expect applause. The harshest words came when Hopkins addressed the Labour Party's treatment of retirees, labelling it a moral failure. After dedicating their lives to the country, these citizens deserve more than empty promises and neglect. She also scrutinised Labour's migration policies, arguing that the party's approach was skewed toward helping migrants while ignoring the homeless in the UK. She stressed that it's not about opposing help for migrants but finding a better balance that doesn't undermine the rights of British citizens. With her signature sarcasm and unyielding critique, Hopkins laid bare the failures of both Rayner and the Labour Party, leaving the audience to ponder whether Rayner's leadership is a tragic mistake or a complete political disaster. As the broadcast reached its peak, Hopkins declared that Angela Rayner is the embodiment of a bad sitcom, loud, exaggerated, and utterly vague about the storyline. Hopkins made one thing crystal clear: the British public deserves far better than what they are currently receiving. From policies to leadership and strategy, she dissected every aspect of the Labour Party's approach with fierce determination. Whether you love her or loathe her, one undeniable point emerged: Angela Rayner and her party must be held accountable, and the British public is no longer buying the excuses. Katie Hopkins has undoubtedly left her mark, igniting debates that will extend far beyond this live television moment. Stay tuned, because with Hopkins, you never know who will be in her sights next. We want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about Hopkins' criticisms of the Labour Party and Angela Rayner? Share your opinions in the comments below, and if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Thank you for watching.